trip down memory lane. So I just celebrated, I mean, I didn't really celebrate, but I have done episodes of Crowdfunding Countdown. That is where I take a look at every single board game campaign that is finishing up. Let's move myself over here so I can scroll through all the glory. And I've been doing this since mid-2021. So this is over 3 years of me looking at pretty much every campaign that I can get my little eyes on in the board gaming sphere. Over 2,000 campaigns. You can see 2023 and then 2024. It's a lot. It's a lot of games. And I read through the rule books on any game that gives me the rule books. And so what I thought might be fun is to go back in time and show you how good I am. Essentially, that's what this is. This is sort of a retrospective of going back and looking back specifically at the picks for me and the picks for you, and seeing where they are now. And if I was right, if I was wrong, I think it's a valuable information for me. And I also think it'll be interesting to see, as the progression moves forward, what my opinions have been and what they might be in the future, how my opinions have evolved, and how much my hair has been shortened. Oops, I guess I should get off of WSBG. And on to this, the very first crowdfunding countdown, back where I only really pulled it off of Board Game Geek, and this is how the series got its name. I looked at what was on Board Game Geek, and honestly, I should be looking at it anymore because there's a 20th anniversary edition of Dungeon Twister that I clearly missed in... Oh no, okay, 20 days left. I haven't missed it yet. Perfect. That's just because there's some sponsored stuff and then the actual finishing of the list. So let's go back in time to the first crowdfunding countdown. We covered a few things, and I might cover a few more, but it's kind of a fun little walk down memory lane for those of you who remember things. Like, some in-jokes come in like episode 3 that have stayed with me and haven't yet died. Just like my love for Maggie. That's one of them. Now, my pick for me was a game called Coalitions. Coalitions, which, literally, if I refresh this, I think this late pledge button is going to go away. I think I must have just missed the late pledge, like I did this yesterday. I looked in this. They've just gotten rid of late pledges. They've gotten rid of late pledges over the course of a day with me looking at it. But this has not fulfilled yet. This is by Phalanx Games, and apparently there's been some significant production issues, and people are upset because this was supposed to deliver in December 2022, and it is now delivering projected September 2024, a 2-year delay, which I'm going to see if I can go back. Oh, they've got some bad news. It seems like everything has just been bad news, bad news, bad news. The printing house would put everybody employed at Phalanx into difficult financial situations, so they were forced to switch paper printing companies in China. Back in 2023, the printer said they will be ready end of July, and then there's issues. This isn't a good look for Phalanx. However, I still think that this game might look good. Maybe the enthusiasm will be completely squashed because of how long they've taken to get this underway. But I remember this looking really interesting, and I still think about it, to be honest. I still think about this sort of action selection wheel that they've come up with, which still looked really neat. So hopefully that does end up delivering in September. Maybe I'll do a refresh on it, but apparently I'm 0 for 1. However, that is going to change because that was a pick for me. I was talking about it mechanically, wasn't talking about Phalanx Games, didn't know about them. My pick for you was Forests of Pangaia by Pangaia Games. It raised a heck of a lot. And let's go to Board Game Geek for this one, since it's out. Currently sitting at a solid 7.4. Sleeved, but felt guilty doing it given the otherwise eco-friendly nature of this game. Lots of strategies, something that I don't know. This is my first time playing a board game that feels awfully unfinished. Great game, proper tactical, fairly abstract. We'll never sell this game purely from a design standpoint. There are a couple people in here who are saying that it's a bit mixed. They're like, yeah, it's good. I wouldn't recommend it. Not huge depth of strategy, but I think this one did look fun. And what is cool is a couple of my patrons I know grabbed it, and it has appeared on some top 10 lists of different mechanics or whatever. And so that's kind of exciting to see it pop up, to see some people enjoying it. So I'm gonna chalk this one up as potentially a win for my first pick of the week. The one thing that I might have missed here talking about, well, I don't think I missed talking about it because I was pretty excited about it when it came up, was Scarface 1920. That was also in this week, and it's since had reprints. People have since enjoyed it. I thought it was cool, but like too expensive. Oh, and another one worth noting is Winterhaven Woods, which I need to see if I said it looked good or not. I think I said it looked okay, and then my buddy Ryan got it and said it was one of the most abysmal games he's ever played. So that's some retrospective on that one. Yeah, I said it was an inoffensive pick, and it definitely offends me now. So sorry, Ryan. But yeah, that's the first one. That was July 12th, 2021, or July 11th is probably when it came out. July 13th? Yeah, something like that. We're moving on to number 2. I'll go through a few of these until it feels like a nice natural conclusion. But I would give myself, on the picks for me, picks for you, a non, who knows, it hasn't arrived, but I think the game might be good. But nobody likes delays. I know, I'm sitting on 5 years waiting for the Trudvang plastic runes to come in so that I can play the game in the way that I would like. But I'm going to give myself a win on Forest of Pangaia, but let me know if you got it and you hate it and it should be a loss. So we're going to give Chris 1 on the tally. I'd say Coalitions is a non-point either way. So 1 positive point for Chris. Let's move on to the second round, the second time, this crowdfunding countdown, where we had not a lot. None of this seems very memorable to me. Although we do have Epic Spell Wars, I'm kind of surprised that Epic Spell Wars Annihilageddon wasn't the pick for me. I put it in the thumbnail, as you can see, because I do like Epic Spell Wars Annihilageddon. Okay, I guess back when I had a little intro screen until I realized that YouTube doesn't have intro screens. I was very proud of that intro screen, though. I thought that was a cool intro. A little crumpled up ball. And you know what? Then I unfold it, and it's no longer crumpled up. I made that myself. Those are my hands. That's a weird filter that I put on, and then I just reversed it. So I crumpled the ball up. I used to have dice, too, that I could roll onto it as well. Anyway, that's not what this series is about. None of this holds mustard, I think. For me, as we go through, Escape from the Asylum looks like a little escape room box that I'm going to look up because that ended up being my pick for me. I haven't yet played Villagers, although Villagers Shifting Seasons might have been a pick for some people, but it didn't like blow me away. There was a bunch of nothing. We had Orlog, the most horrible, kitschy piece of IP trash that I've seen, but Epic Spell Wars 2, Annihilageddon, I have played this since this has come out because you could get it at retail. I still think getting this at retail would have been the better choice, and I think that's why I didn't put it as a pick for me, but it's actually a quite enjoyable deck builder. Did I think it looked dumb? Let's see. Oh yeah, I said I liked it, but I was like, hey, the first version exists, and it'll probably be the same. And you know what? I was right. Is that a point for Chris? Let's give myself a point. The pick for me, my pick of the week, was this Escape from the Asylum, which is an escape room adventure from Imperial Publishing. I want to see what these people have done since. Let's see if that's interesting. Oh, they're backing Abcon. Good for you. Catapult Castle. I remember that. Sansuki. I must have missed this one. That's bad. That was funded about a year ago. I don't remember this one. Yeah, I don't really remember this one at all. Sorry, Imperial Publishing, but, you know, hope it went well for you. We do know that the creator of Imperial Publishing love their showers. There's 2 showers. Seems like people had some issues on sleeves. I mean, somebody did say, they're no longer replying to messages or replies. This has been the worst experience I've had with the Kickstarter project so far. That's not good. This one also had delayed shipping update on March 1st, 2023. Although, to be fair, there's no timeline on the main page. That's why you always put a timeline. That's something to watch for. Let's see if this is on Board Game Geek or Board Game Geek. But that's a different site. Hard puzzles. The game doesn't direct you on how to solve them. Puzzles are nonsensical. Overall, just a mediocre experience. I'm really into escape rooms. They're abundant lately. Yeah, I mean, it's true. I kind of picked this one. I'm going to give this a fail for Chris. This is 1 fail for Chris. I picked this one. I wasn't happy about it. To be fair, I said, I guess I'll pick something because the pick for you was to go watch My Hero Academia, which, honestly, I'm gonna give Chris a point for that one too, because My Hero Academia is incredible, and this final season is so good. And I'm not one to get tattoos, but if I did, I would get a tattoo of Lemillion because I love him. So I think this was a pretty atrocious week. I said my pick for you is basically go back to last week and get something better. And I think that's a good pick, just identifying that this is all garbage, and thus begins that not all crowdfunding games are good. train. But the fact that I did this as a pick for me, again, I feel a little less severe giving something a pick for me rather than a pick for you. If I give a pick for you and it really flops, then I'm going to self-flagellate myself over and over again. That is the thing that I care the most about. And there is one big fail, I think, on this list. But the pick for me, I think this one, I'm giving myself a fail point here, but it's not like a huge fail because it's an escape game. You're going to get puzzles. You kind of know what you're getting. It's a random crapshoot. I think I knew that going into it, and I kind of was just picking it to pick something. But I'm still giving myself a fail because of the horrible reviews and the bad customer service. I'm not giving myself a fail for Coalitions because I still actually believe in that game when it drops, but yeah. Dang, Escape from the Asylum, you suck. Okay, let's move on to Crowdfunding Countdown episode 3, where we have Velocity Vanguard, Ice, Flows and Foes, and Distilled. Well, Distilled, I'm going to jump right ahead to the pick for you. The pick for you was Distilled, and actually you can see it on my shelf in behind me. This was episode 3, and I think this is a point. I think I gotta get a point for this. People have been really enjoying Distilled. Luthier, I forget how to pronounce it, has been killing it on Kickstarter. A bunch of my patrons, people in the Discord, say that they really like Luthier and also enjoy Distilled. There you go. So I am definitely giving myself a point here because there were a few that I could have put in here.Maybe not. Well, because I could have given you Rallyman Cars. I could have put Rallyman Cars and I didn't. I could have put Death Road All-Stars. Again, the first arrival of Maggie. Maggie's first appearance on the channel as well in episode 3. Rallyman Cars and Maggie. Wow, what a game. And then the pick for me, I still think I kind of stand by. Let's see if people hated it. Ice, Flows, and Foes was this silly little game. It's kind of like Kabuto Sumo, essentially, is what this is. It's a different version of Kabuto Sumo as you try not to knock people off. You try to save the seals and whales from fishing boats and hunters and push them off. So it's a cooperative Kabuto Sumo, and I think it would be good still. I want to see if it got delivered. That's number 1. I mean, it's 5.2, but it is what it is, right? I don't see why people are so enamored with Kabuto Sumo. And received in London, received in Montreal, got my copy, game received. That was over 2 years ago. A small amount of people backed this. 107 backers pledged for this game. Somebody just rates it David. 7 out of 10. David. I love Board Game Week ratings because they take it, and some people it's just their own notes, but what possible note could this be? Oh, it's probably David has a collection with somebody else. We got to look at David's profile now. We got to look at own David and Dirk, David, Dirk, Peter, Dirk. So it's a communal thing. I really want to live in a world where that isn't it, and the rating is just 7 out of 10. David. Just boring. Purchase a spiel. Light game reminds me of another game, but can't remember. It's Kabuto Sumo. Play max in 20 minutes. Our game took 30 minutes, and then it felt like it overstayed its welcome. I think I'm not going to give myself like a point here, but I still stand by what I said. I think it was probably, that's the wrong one. I think it was probably just a little stupid little game where you can push things out, where I was highlighting an indie publisher, and there wasn't anything else that got my tickles all a-tickling. Not even the On Mars expansion. I remember Velocity Vanguard raising a bunch, but yeah, haven't heard anything about that, so good thing it wasn't picked for me. But I'm giving myself a big point for Distilled. That one definitely gets a point for me. Let's go on to number 4. This is kind of fun, isn't it? Let's move along. Oh, I remember this. This is where I started yelling about rulebooks. Oh, and then I left in my sound check and somebody yelled at me for singing. They said, "Don't you sing! Don't you dare ever sing again!" You know what? I need to change that. There we go. Now we're back. Now we're back in real backwards cap action. Oh, my beautiful hat. The Olive Garden didn't deserve you. Why did Rat Queens make me mad? I remember it did. Oh yeah, I was annoyed because they didn't give any stretch goals to their like base game. There was like a small promo pack of like 4 cards, and you can't even they didn't even throw that in. I think that's silly when a game doesn't do that. I mean, food and choices, consumption and death, or whatever it was called. Food for Thought was doing that too. I'm like, just throw the 6 yoga cards in. People are supporting your game. You'll get more value if you do that rather than putting everything behind a paywall. Anyway, let's go to the pick for me. Pick for me was actually a thing that was just happening in last Crowdfunding Countdown, funnily enough, was AbCon. This is where I backed AbCon. This is where I supported AbCon. I thought it looked really cool. I wanted to support it. I thought it was a cool convention, and I love to see that it has continued to thrive. I think that's awesome. But it's not a game, right? I want to give myself a point, but I'm not going to just be giving myself points willy-nilly. I want to have a good breakdown of my hits and my misses. And so since this isn't really board gaming, and I didn't give myself a point for My Hero Academia, at least I don't think I did. Honestly, I forget. I'm not giving myself a point here. I am going to give myself, though, a point for Chronicles of Barnacles of Dumbledore. For the most part, I think people are still very happy with Creative Game Studio because they just put out Odalin, and that raised a whole bunch of money. It's sitting currently at an 8.4 on Board Game Geek. Second copy. Gameplay is tense and thoughtful. Storage solution is awful. Yeah, I can imagine that. Too much interruption when you open the doors. Yeah, I get that. It takes so long, especially if you don't have a good storage solution, then opening those doors and expanding the map is going to be very cumbersome, so to speak. Lots of monsters, they don't feel different. But I think this is a pretty aggregate, like I'm putting up the people. The 6s I always find, 6s and 7s I think are where you get your best reviews. Rather than the 10s and the 9s and the 8s, but a lot of 10s, 333, 299, 291. I mean, this one, I think people have really enjoyed. I'm going to give myself a point for this. An incredible game, one of the best pure dungeon crawl board games. Each door adds setup. Yeah, I'm still going to give this a point. I'm going to give this a point for me, official point for me. It's nice when you just get to give yourself points. I think I got that correct. Other things that haven't popped up. Soul Raiders. I'm interested to see. Has that even delivered yet? Because I like Marc-Andre, and I remember this is from Marc-Andre. Production of the game continues. We expect to get it by June, so it hasn't delivered yet. What was the timeline projected? It's so funny how many campaigns don't have a timeline. Really bad communication. Game production is running on its course. Are these guys still alive? Well, that's disappointing, but it seems like production is still moving forward on this one. Anybody back Soul Raiders? Let me know in the comments if you're happy, if you're dissatisfied. I remember thinking that like the gameplay itself didn't grab me, but I would have backed just because of Marc-Andre. And because I still love Splendor. I still love Splendor, even though I played some Splendor last night and I lost 2 of the 3 games, and that's devastating to me. It is utterly devastating. 2 4-player games. I won 1 and then I lost the next 2, and I almost deleted the channel. I was that upset. Yeah, that's the only other one that sort of pops up, jumps off the shelf for me. Pulp Invasion 2, I know people have talked about and enjoyed. And Volfarian Guilds, I was like, man, this looks meh. And I think it is meh, so I think that's right. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I don't know how long this video is going to be. But it's going to be however long I say it is. This is an interesting one, because I'm willing to give myself... No, I'm not willing to give myself an X on it, but I think people haven't been enjoying Bantem West. I think Bantem West has changed significantly through development as a part of that, because I remember being really excited about Bantem West, actually, and that was the pick for you. The pick for me, though, quickly, I am going to give myself a point. I like this. I played this at Dice Tower West with Mark and Rick, and I enjoyed it. They had a copy, or they were renting a copy. It was in the Hot Games area, and I played it, and it flowed kind of what I was hoping it to be. I still think it's a fun game. My buddy Ryan also has a copy of this, and I'd be happy to play this game anytime. So I'm giving myself a point for that, because I enjoyed Oros. It was the pick for me, and I think I did enjoy it the most out of everything. The pick for you, Bantem West, is something that I want to look more into to see, because I know it's changed a lot. I know it delivered, but it puts itself forward as an immersive sim adventure board game for 1 to 4 players. Play as one of the 4 deadly strangers, aiming to become the most notorious in the frontier. Seems like they're working hard to cut shipping costs to get people their game trays. I think you should just ignore the game trays and go watch my own building your own insert thing and do that instead. Seems like a very responsive... Well, it's sitting at an 8.1 though, 161 ratings. 30 10s, 38 9s, 51 8s. Not too bad. Not too many 7s and 6s, which is where the 10 out of 10 after playing the Master of Chaos version. This is a disappointment for me. I like how sandbox it is. Found the characters uninteresting, not very unique, just slightly different. Well, that's probably True, I bet there's like just a very small variance in what they can do differently. 4-player welcome scenario, very exciting Western RPG with a true sandbox feeling. Okay, this is nice. True sandbox experience, several light mechanisms combined for a heavy experience. Learning curve, though. I mean, I just played Western Legends for the first time over in Kubla Khan, and that was very fun. And we also sort of all agreed that it's a game that you would want to play like once a year, because mechanically there wasn't that much depth to it, but thematically it was just a really rip-roaring good time. So this is nice. It's nice seeing people saying Kickstarter and reviewing it like recently. If you go in with a roleplay mindset, it's fun. Setup is quite long. Hard teach. Interested why play this when you play Western Legends. Mechanics are fiddly. Combat very much so. I think it sounds like it is a more fiddly, a little bit maybe more in depth. Due to the increasing scenario complexity, you'll be always starting less interesting plays when you bring in new people. Well, obviously, like as games grow in complexity, you don't put that upon new people. So it is better to have a designated group for this. Sweet. Okay, I thought this wasn't good. I thought I had heard a bad rulebook is unforgivable. I mean, you're not wrong, Cat Daddy. You were not wrong. But I had heard that this maybe wasn't good. I don't know where I heard that, but I had it in my mind that like it was a bit of a letdown or it changed too much in the after effect. But the fact that it didn't, that's very exciting. You know what? I'm giving myself another point for that. It seems like people are enjoying it. You can let me know if any of these points are unearned as well, because I really value your opinion. But like scrolling through, it seems like across the board, people who are rating it, and these feel like real people. You know what I mean? These don't feel like unearned 10. They feel like people who want to be sharing their thoughts and who are excited. That's just what it feels like to me. And 3.27 on the complexity scale is not that bad. Now, one thing I do want to point out in this, and you can tell me if I deserve a non-point here, but Earthborn Rangers was recently just on Kickstarter again, and I covered it again. I was like, this isn't interesting to me. I don't know why people are finding it that interesting. I didn't know why people were finding it interesting back then. I still don't know why they're finding it interesting now, but a lot of people like Earthborn Rangers. It was like one of the most popular things at PAX. It ran out this past December, and I didn't know back then, and I still don't know now. So I don't know if that's a point. I don't know if that's not a point, but it is worth noting that Earthborn Rangers was like kind of a certifiable hit. Although I did talk about how it raised a bunch of money on the funding goals and how I didn't see why, and I still don't see why. But that could be a miss if it's just a huge popular hit and I didn't give it as the pick for you. Maybe that's a potential negative point. You'll have to let me know if me not putting it as a pick for you meant anything. Oh yeah, Divinus was also here with Lucky Duck, and I was mid on it, and I think people were also mid on it. So I feel like that was pretty. Let's see what Divinus is rated. This is kind of fun. I wasn't planning on going into such depth. I was just gonna do the pick for me and the pick for you, but you know, why do a retrospective if you're not gonna do it properly? Yeah, it's just getting a 7. People are giving it 8, really enjoying it. Very, very disappointed in it. Great ideas made almost unplayable by terrible components. Clunky app. There you go. Overall, dice mechanic is interesting. The legacy aspect gets in the way of proper gameplay. Game is a disappointment. I don't want to stick any more stickers on top of stickers. Story's a bit boring, and I'm tired of the tile laying game. Too much legacy, not enough game. Played as 2 players. Night starts, but then becomes boring after 5 to 6 scenarios. Played all 12 base game scenarios. Game's hardly interesting enough to keep going. The stickers ruin the experience. Hey, you know, if I was just freely handing out points, I might give myself a point for this as well. But I'm not. I'm only focusing on the pick for me and the pick for you. The things that I actively kind of put forward, those are the things that I care about. So let's move on to this next one, which was also a dud of a week. There was not a lot happening. Get to the checkpoint. Who cares? Mainline Magazine. Kid Loves Sushi. Zorro the Dice Game. Oh, you know what? I recently was reintroduced to Zorro the Dice Game, wasn't I? Or was that a different game? Was that a different Zorro game? I think the Zorro the Dice Game looked kind of fun. Okay, I need to rewatch this. Haha, it wasn't. It was Zorro the board game, which looked good. That's good. The pick for me ended up being Masters of the Universe. Fields of Eternia was on there, and they were doing some friggin' shady garbage. This was the European Masters of the Universe, where they were like, hey, you can just buy additional boxes of stretch goals just so you can sell them on the secondary market. That just kind of made me annoyed. But deck chairs on the Titanic was the one that was the pick for me. The pick for you, there was no pick for you. Again, this year, it was just play Deus Ex, which is clearly what I was playing at that time, and I don't regret it. Deus Ex is an amazing franchise, and I'm gutted that the third game that was in development is just like canceled. But let's look at deck chairs over the Titanic, or deck chairs of the Titanic, which was like a shifting game where the Titanic would move back and forth and the chairs would shift back and forth and slide back and forth, and you were trying to plan out how to make your deck chairs slide around. This just crossed its funding goal. Fulfillment was begun in 2022. That was the final update that they did. Has this shipped? Did it get missed? How do I sort this out? Yeah, you should have received your copy. You can email me. We can check it out. Game arrived today. Amazing. 10 months ago. So they figured it out. Sweet. They figured it out in like a 2-month time and got somebody their game. This is an awesome first comment to have. That's great. So apparently it got there. How are people liking it? Deck chairs on the Titanic, 6.5. All right, I just watched a review of it, and I kind of, I think I know exactly what this game is. If you didn't know what this game is going into it, I think I might even give myself a point here. I want to see the breakdown. Played with 2 people, stopped when we felt there wasn't anything special about it. I think it looks just fine. And I think it looks gimmicky, but a fun little gimmicky. You're placing attendants to block the chairs of other people as they slide into icons. And you want to get your icons on your color or in the center to score points at the end of each round. Each round the ship's going to sway and sink, and you just sit on your little chair moving around back and forth. The interest comes from the game pushing on the deck chairs one way or the other to the end of the round. You got to think ahead a little bit. Whoa, a 10 out of 10. How about that? Simple, fast-paced strategy game. I don't think anyone could give this a 10 out of 10. I think that's for sure a friend. I think this is probably like a 7 or an 8. 7, it's a 7. It's a 7. My first Kickstarter back meeples felt cheap. Game was overly simplistic, not really intriguing, kind of boring. Oh, there's somebody who didn't like that it was the Titanic. That's where the 1 comes from. All in all, a lot of stuff around the 7 and the 6. I don't know if I give myself a point here. I gotta rewatch. I gotta rewatch and see what I said. Oh, poor Chris. 31-minute video. Thought it was long. I should make shorter content. We gotta cut this one short. We're cutting it short after the next one. We got one more. I'm giving myself a point. I think it was perfectly accurate. I said I was reaching for something to highlight, and that's all there is to say on the matter. Let's get back to our final one. This is episode 6, and I guess we could have ended it after 5, but I wanted to end on a high and a low because here we have Arydia and Lords of Vaala. Those are the 2 that made the pick for me and the pick for you. Arydia, I was so excited about and still am actively excited about every time there is an update. I am checking it eagerly. I was so excited that I had to make a 5 reasons you shouldn't back Arydia. So I'm absolutely giving myself a point here that my excitement has sustained, even with Maggie not wanting me to see young Maggie, because it's gonna happen. Disgusting. Disgusting. Now, the pick for you, I am going to give myself a fail on because I got suckered in. Not suckered in. I really thought this game would work for me. I've played it once, and I'm disappointed by the fact that the merge seems inevitable. I wanted a game where the merge didn't seem inevitable. I think the gameplay of this is actually pretty fun. The area control of it is actually pretty fun. Do I give myself a fail on this? I don't know. It was an incredible deal. It was $49, and you got this and a whole new war game along with it. In the stretch goals, they made everything into minis when they were just tiny little tokens. You don't need the stretch goals whatsoever, but I really fell for them. I thought it was a really good deal, and the shipping was decently reasonable. It has delivered to my door now. This is one of the most atrocious rule books that I have experienced, but I want to see what other people have to say about it. Oh, the AI or faceless mechanics were really good solo when you have less than 4 players. Okay, so it's just a bunch of random stuff. You know what? Maybe I would like playing this at less than 4 players. Maybe I'd like playing it at 2 players, because then you can get allied up. I was thinking about selling this without trying it again, and maybe I will try it at a different player count and reserve my judgment. Only played solo, didn't like it. Too random, merging feels clunky and annoying, yeah. Difficult to identify special units, I didn't have that. Too random again, poor fighting experience. Lack of replayability. Yeah, the asymmetry of the characters isn't that great. Played it a couple dozen times. That's nice. Didn't love the rulebook. Yeah, you're right. Gameplay was fine. Ultimately a bit clunky. Agreed. Creatures and the ones that provide new playable factions. Yeah, I'm not in for a game that needs expansions to shine. So I've only played this once, and I played it about a year ago. I played the base game, right, when it was just delivering, and then my copy has come in, I don't know, maybe it was more than a year ago that I played it. Who knows? I played it as a playthrough video that probably will never see the light of day, and I definitely had a good time with it, other than being sort of forced to merge. It's one of those things where I have it on my shelf, and I just don't know if it's worth the second try. But maybe I'll give it a try with 2 players. Right? I've punched out all the components. I'm contemplating giving the stretch goal thing, that little war game, a try, just because I have it. Or it might just be one thing where I don't have the urge to get it off the shelf. I have too many things else that I want to play, and it doesn't happen, and I eventually sell it. But I mean, like, I backed this one. I backed this one because it was cheaper than me backing Arydia, and then I was so very happy to win a copy of Arydia. I think it had a lot of intriguing concepts, but it just ultimately fell a little bit flat for me, and so I am going to give myself a minus point on this one. I don't think this lived up to the expectation that I was hoping for it to be, and it is a minus point, but it's also one that I believed in, that I spent my own money on. So sometimes it happens, but generally there have been some good ones still. So those are the point. That's the point. That's the point tally. I don't know what the point tally is. I think it's like 2 minus points, maybe 3 minus points. I'll put it in editing once I go through, and we'll see the points. You can tell me if I should have gotten more or should have gotten less. Let me know down below. This is the first part of a retrospective of Crowdfunding Countdown. I think I'm going to keep on doing this, but this is where we're going to call it for today. So I hope that was interesting. I hope it was fun looking back, and if there's anything in that time period that you backed and that you liked or didn't like, please share your thoughts down in the comments below, because I think it's nice to do this retrospective, especially when we're hypothesizing on the game potential in Crowdfunding Countdown, right? Like, that's essentially what I'm doing. I'm taking all the information to the best of my ability and trying to distill it for you all so you can make an informed choice, and also for myself so I can make an informed choice, because that's really all we have to go off if we aren't playing a copy, a review copy. Now, playing an actual copy of the game, sometimes that helps, but you can only play so much, and you can only have so much time. And as room and board is not full time for me yet, well, that stops me from playing literally everything. But we can hypothesize, and I think we've been doing pretty well so far, and especially at the early stages of delving into crowdfunding, where I feel like I've learned so much over the course of 3 years. It is cool to go back and see my wins and my losses. What else was happening over here? Dino Dodge. The only other one Edge of Darkness expansion, Legend Academy. That was one that I don't know if that still hasn't delivered as well. But Eldorado Games had just they went under. They don't exist anymore. But there is an unboxing that did happen, so I think it might finally happen. Certainly not holding my breath. Anyway, that's it. That's it for this video. Thanks for being here. Hit the like and subscribe, and let me know if you like this video, these retrospectives. I'm gonna probably keep doing a few more because I think they're interesting and it's nice to review. But if you hate them, that's important for me to know so I can stop doing them and start doing something that you like. Thanks for being here. My name is Chris George. I don't have a catchphrase, but I do have proof that I was right once, and I shall be right again.